Do you want to be a success? Did somebody tell you you just don't have what it takes? You need to go full throttle, no days off,
Ooh.
grind. Well, you're in luck because today's episode, we're going to be talking about no days off. This is the Existential Stoic podcast.
Sounds
I'm Randy.
terrible.
That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
Oh, what's up, Brady?
Yeah, so this is a pretty interesting topic. I thought we could talk about it. What are your thoughts on no days off?
Well, it's interesting, because it's funny. Like when you mentioned it, I was like, "Oh, that sounds terrible." But I do generally work every day. I actually, I mean, like to be fair, there are times like this week. Last week I did take a couple days off and all, but like generally I do work 7 days a week, but I don't work all day. I do other stuff. Like so every day I usually try to do something like fun. I try to do like hobbies. I have my routine that I do. And I think that does break it up so I have more energy for like the long haul. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? To I actually want to do this stuff every day too, a lot of it. So it doesn't feel like it's work.
Let me ask, do you enjoy your work?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's it, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the crucial thing. If you do, it's not hard to do. And
Hey,
especially when you're doing it for like yourself, right? Like
mm-hmm.
such a big difference.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
even work at that point. Like I remember when I was younger, all these people saying, "Oh, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life." And I'm like, BS, dude.
It's still work. It still sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm in the same spot where the stuff that I call work is actually quite enjoyable. And so I I would do it anyways, even if I
Yeah. And
wasn't getting paid.
I feel lucky about that though, because I think like for most people, and I know for myself too, for the longest time that wasn't the case. It felt like a grind. Everything felt like adding another thing on to try and make that little bit of improvement to maybe get that next level of whatever the hell I was working towards. But ultimately being kind of unhappy throughout the whole thing.
Hmm.
And I think it's finding what you like really like. And I don't like passion and stuff. I hate that talking about that, but like finding what you can do all the time that you really want to become is really helpful.
Hmm. Yeah, I like how Mark Manson said it. He said, "Find the shit sandwich you don't mind eating," because everything has
Yeah.
its downsides. But
Well, that's the truth though, right? Like every job you do, there's going to be stuff you don't like about it. Even if you love like ostensibly the whole thing, you're going to hate
mhm.
parts of it. There's always going to be stuff.
Yeah. So like it's interesting because on social media everywhere there's this concept of grind, no days off. And while on one hand there are positive
And a
aspects on
total
that.
misunderstanding of what passive income means. Sorry.
Oh dude, yeah. Driving for Uber, passive income. I know, right?
But
Dude.
I see that so much. They're like, yeah,
Oh my God.
making tables for Etsy, passive income. It's like, no, you started another business.
I know, right? Uh, yeah, so
God,
crazy.
it's funny. Anyway, sorry.
Anyways,
Kills me every
so
time I see it.
yeah, dude, it's freaking nuts. I forget. I totally lost my train of thought with that. But there was
Sorry.
another thing that I was going to talk about too. So I started listening to this book that I've been meaning to listen to for a while called High Performance Habits by Brandon Burchard, and he he was one of the dudes who was into like coaching and stuff probably 20 years ago. Like back when the internet started and people started selling courses on the internet, he was one of them selling courses. And so now he's worked with a bunch of people like Oprah and I don't know, I think Tom Brady and some sports team. But anyways, he
Oprah's the most
basically,
important though.
yeah, I listened to him at this talk where he was saying this whole concept of grind is totally way off base. So in this book, High Performance Habits, he basically interviewed a whole bunch of the highest performing people across multiple disciplines. And he had some statistics people take a look at the numbers and the data and everything. And out of those, he picked
Numbers
out,
people.
yeah, out of those, he picked out like the top most things that are correlated with high performance and the ones that are lowest. And nowhere in there was their grind. Nowhere in there was there do stuff you don't want to do. It was like
Yeah.
it was like enjoy what you're doing, have fun doing it, and contribute, and like you're going to make a big difference. But so I think the concept of grind is great because it's like, yeah, you can get stuff done, but what damage are you causing yourself at the same time?
Not to mention too, like, are you living a full life? Are you doing things you actually like want to do and enjoy? And like, I'll tell you the truth, like, I know like you want to kill your creativity, you want to kill your motivation, grind. That'll do it. Because you end up wearing yourself out, you're doing stuff you hate, and frankly, you just get more and more miserable over time. And like unless you really like love what you're doing, like it's not going to work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I'm still undoing the psychic knots from grinding. Like back when I was working as an emergency vet, I was so vehemently opposed to it. Like every directional compass I had in my body was saying get the F out of here. And I would go in there night after night and work these hellish shifts
Yeah.
and do stuff I didn't want to do for years and years and years because I had this debt burden to pay off. And
Yeah, and it makes it horrible. It
yeah,
does.
and so now I'm going to a counselor to work through all this stuff because I was grinding to get
And
done.
the worst part is too, like even if you did like license aspects of it, that'll kill it. It'll ruin the whole thing. So you can't do it anymore anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's a hard mental model to break though, because people really believe that like the only way to success is to just white knuckle it basically,
Mm.
rather than actually like, and I think what's so flawed about that too is you have to give yourself time to step back and actually think about what you want to do. Because when you're just grinding, you don't think about what you want to do. You're constantly trying to just like, you're trying to solve the most immediate problem, which is usually like more money or something, rather than like thinking about like, how can I actually be happy? What do I actually want? What are things I actually enjoy doing?
I'm glad you said white knuckling it because that's something that I've recognized in myself. Anytime I'm white knuckling something, I need to stop because
Yeah, yeah.
that means I'm doing something I absolutely should not be doing. I need to stop and like take a look at what's going on because white knuckling is not something that you should be doing at any time in life. You know, it's
No, it's terrible.
mhm. Yeah.
Not to mention too, I think like I don't know, I found myself like I mean, I just feel like my life's gotten so much better over the past 5 years, redirecting things, changing things. And like I don't know, because I like what I'm doing too. I feel much better both about doing stuff every day, but also like taking breaks. Like I'll take a break to read or something. Like if I get stuck, I'll go do something else. Like I don't feel bad about it because I know I'll go back to it. I'm not afraid that I'm going to lose momentum. I'm not afraid, whereas like if you're grinding, it's like if you stop, you're afraid that whole train's going to just, crash into
Hmm.
the whatever the hell. What's
Yeah.
the front, the engine,
Yeah.
instead of like being able to keep going.
Yeah. And also people idolize these psychopath entrepreneurs like Steve
Mm.
Jobs and Elon Musk, these guys who can't and I've met a couple of them in real life, these guys who are like super financially successful, and they literally can't stop. They do not have an off button. Like I met one dude whose net worth is upwards of $100 million. And he literally cannot sleep at night. Like he's physically disabled where he can't sleep at night and he
Yeah.
just works nonstop. And it's like I don't think I would want to have that life.
No, I don't want to do that anyway. That's the other thing. It's like, we look around and I think we made a big mistake of idolizing and putting people on a pedestal who work 1,000 hours a week. And it's like, I don't want that
Mm-hmm.
because, and I don't want to say, and I think the mistake is people think like, oh, I'll enjoy my time later when I retire. But one, you don't know if you're going to be able to retire. Two, you might die. Three, you're going to be old. And if you've worked like a crazy person your whole life, you might not be in good health. Like I want to enjoy the things I want to do now also and live like a full. I think we need a better concept of what a full life is,
Mm-hmm. Not to
overall.
mention, if you've spent, I don't know, 40, 50 years working 40 plus hours a week and then you retire, you are going to be so insanely bored. You're going to want to blow your
Well,
brains out after like a week.
think about it, right? Because all you've done is grind. You have no hobbies. You probably have very few real friends. Like you haven't been able to maintain relationships. Like, yeah, it's gonna be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is our fundamental problem though, is we don't have a conception of a full life. And we're so focused on external things, we don't think about like what we actually need.
Mm. Yeah, it's a good point. On the other hand, so also when I thought no days off, I was like, well, you really can't take any days off of life. Like,
No,
have
you
you ever had
can't.
a day off of life? Mm-mm. Because then you wouldn't
It's
be
always
here.
I'm always alive.
Yeah. And also I was thinking about like kind of the step-by-step building of habits and hobbies and that thing that if you do something 5 minutes a day, it's better than doing it for 3 hours once a week. And so like, there is some methodology to this no days off thing.
No, I think that's 100% true. Like if you're trying to change things or if you're trying to improve your life, like you have to do stuff every day. And like, but you're not, but again, this is stuff you want to do. It's like 10 minutes a day, maybe an hour a day. It's building that up slowly. I find too, personally, like I can improve my routine by adding one small thing at a time. I don't try and add a bunch. I think that's also a part that people fail on a lot. They'll like,
Hmm.
I'm going to start meditating, going to the gym, reflecting in my journal, and doing all this stuff. And you add in 10 different activities to your day that you can't maintain. But
Mm.
if you do one at a time and do it every day, it's easy to add in others.
That's a great one. There's a book, The Compound Effect, where he kind of talks on this idea. And it's like, I notice this in my own life, how I want something and I want it super fast. And so
Yeah,
what I
immediately.
and what I've learned as I'm getting older is I need to be like, how can I earn this as slowly as possible? So what's the minimum that I can do each day that'll get me there? Because I know from my own personal experience when I've tried to diet too fast or to exercise too hard or to learn too much at one time, every time it ends up in me quitting.
Yeah.
But when I go at stuff slowly, it's maintainable until I reach the goal.
And then you actually enjoy it. You actually get a lot out of it. Because it's funny too. Like, I know you talked about before, like doing something 5 minutes a day is better than 3 hours one day a week, right?
Mhm.
And what's funny is, we don't realize that. Like, doing something for 14 hours because you're trying to learn as fast as possible is actually more detrimental than just doing a couple hours a day or like an hour a day. Because you're constantly getting that repetition, you're constantly reinforcing it, you're thinking about it all the time instead of taking long gaps in between, and you just build those neural connections way faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also Gary Vaynerchuk said something where he was talking about patience, and he's like, the reason I'm patient is because I know I have my whole life to figure it out, my whole life to get it right. So there's no rush.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that comes from grinding, though. I think is we're really hard on ourselves. We think we have to have it now.
Mm,
There's no time, right? You have to keep pushing and pushing because there's going to be more responsibilities. And we get really, really hard on ourselves for no reason. When we can totally make mistakes. We can totally mess up. It's fine. You
hmm.
can you can derail yourself for quite a long time and still come back, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. There
I
was.
like that.
Mhm.
Okay. I was gonna say I like that there's like two sides to it, right? Because it's like the negative side of doing no days off, like grinding and stuff, and like not having any time for yourself. But then there's that positive side of like no days off on things that are good for you and healthy and like that are building your character or making you better and a better person.
Hmm. Yeah. There was this weekend. There was a moment where I was just sitting outside, and I was, uh, those moments when you're just sitting outside and everything's perfect, and it's just like,
Yeah.
wow, what a wonderful world. And I was thinking because we've both had some friends who
I
have,
feel that way all the time.
yeah, right. I'm happy 24 hours a day by my course. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, right? And so, like, I was having this moment, and I was thinking about some friends we had when we were younger who commit suicide and how they're not here. Like,
Yeah.
their life was terrible, and they chose to take their own life. And it was just, and so, like, I bring that up in this whole thing about grind. Like, keep an eye out on your mental health. That's really
Yeah.
important because their life was terrible and what they did totally justifiable. I can understand where they came from and it makes sense. But at the same time, I was sitting there and I was like, gosh, this is beautiful and they're missing out on this.
Yeah. It's our one shot, right? And like if you're gonna miss out, and like you miss out if you're grinding and you're not paying attention to the world around you because you're not giving yourself a chance to enjoy anything and to even remember why you're doing it. It's funny how fast we forget even why we're grinding when we're in the midst of it. And what's funny too? I see people all the time. I mean, I remember my ex's mother was like this, right? Where like they're so stressed out at work, grinding at work, and then the anger because you can't express that at work because you'll get fired.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes home with you, and you end up being mean to the people that are closest to you, angry, and you blow up for no reason because you're unhappy doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think this is the other really negative consequences of it, which is we just destroy our relationships because we feel so out of control that any little thing anybody asks us is too much, or it's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fuck that. Who wants to live like that?
Yeah. Right. So I
Seriously,
think
dude.
I think we've examined kind of both sides of the no days off grind mentality. But like, how does someone use this to make their life better? Like do more of the things they want and also not do more of the things they don't that aren't good for them. How does one implement that?
I think you gotta get clear about what you want and what's gonna make you like happy, which is hard because that means you gotta like really do some self-examination, right? And you have to commit to it. So I think I that worked for me, and I know you've used it before, is just, commit to journaling for like 5 minutes in the morning or at night and start working through like what is bothering me? Why am I unhappy? Do I really like what I'm doing? What would I do if I could do anything? If money didn't matter. Ask these kinds of questions where like you can start exploring possibilities to figure out maybe, what's wrong.
Yeah, you remember when we were working through that book, The Artist's Way, together, and it had
Yeah.
you write like 3 pages a day or something like that, something ridiculous. And like every morning, I was like, I hate this. I don't want to write. I don't want to. But anyways, I remember I used to be like very very. I would censor what I would write because I was listening to all this stuff on positive psychology, and I was like, I can't write negative things because then like whatever. But actually, I've seen a lot of research recently that writing about your negative experiences helps you process and integrate that stuff into your life so that you can move forward. And so now, dude, anytime I have something that's like bothering me, that I'm angry or anxious or any of these feelings comes up about it, I write about it, and it's like it's crazy because I can almost feel like a physical weight lifting off of me
Oh,
as I'm
dude.
just writing to myself where no one else will ever see it.
Yeah. If you went through my old journals, there's so many pages in them where it's like, I'm depressed, I'm bored, I don't know what to do. Like just literally the same thing over and over again. And it's like, but it helped me work through it. And
Mhm.
now I'm not, it's like you gotta kind of get through those things. And I think the only way is to address it. And it does feel like weights lifted off. But if you don't address it, you'll never get there.
Mhm.
And like also I think just admitting that you want to change is good. Like that you're not happy. Like that's a healthy thing. Even saying it to the people in your life, saying, look, I'm not happy. Like which are like maybe talking to other people, maybe thinking it through can help you get there. Because if you feel like all the pressure's on you, the grind is going to continue. If you feel like that pressure is shared by others, it can help you kind of start making time for yourself to explore other options.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I look back at times in my life where things weren't going my way, whether whether I was in situations that were of my own doing or whether they were ones that I was forced into, whatever it is. But like
Yeah.
never was it comfortable. I can totally relate
No.
with anybody who's going through something like that in life.
Oh,
Never was it comfortable. It was terrible. I want to get out from it immediately. But it's one of those things that looking back, and like everybody says this to you when you're in that situation too. So I just feel like a schmuck for saying this anyways. But like you're gonna look back and you're gonna be like, this was that moment that I needed to make a giant change in my life, and my life is so much better for it.
yeah. But you know what though? It's all the people that do say that went through it, usually.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the truth. Because I know the same thing, right? It's like you look back and you realize it was necessary. Because sometimes, it's like if you're not realizing how bad it is, you're not going to change. You have to realize how miserable you are. That's why writing's so good and effective, because sometimes it'll start to get you to actually express those things that you're keeping deep down,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's a great way to start recognizing I'm really unhappy doing this. I need to change things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think just very slowly adding changes to your life also empowers you to realize that you have control and you can make changes and change your life. So, like writing every day for 5 minutes, small change, totally doable. But once you start implementing it and actually doing it, you realize, hey, I can actually change my life. Then you might add 10 minutes of breathing exercises or something, or you might start, spending an hour at night doing a course or something you're really interested in just to do something different, and then who knows what'll happen.
And dude, I'm the ultimate in like laziness in these things. I say writing every day. And that could consist of just opening up the journal and writing today's date, you know,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
anything, or just taking one breath today.
Yeah.
How many times, dude, how many days have I gone through where I haven't even taken one conscious breath?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, wow, a lot. So, like,
It's crazy, right?
yeah, yeah. So, these little habits, like, I like what you said with just working on the little thing. So, like, I think with this no days off, there's a way to use it for the good things in your life, and there's a way to use it for the bad things in your life. So for like the good things in your life, like what you said, just small little things every day. No days off for the good things. For the bad things, for the things that you're grinding that you think you need, stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Just stop. You need days off.
Uh,
And like sometimes, it's like it's eye-opening too when you start to really think it through and see how unhappy you are. It really is. And like I think it's sad too because we think we're trapped and we're not. That's the other thing I think too is, have faith in yourself and remember that like you can change things. You don't have to accept reality as it like you don't have to accept your life as it is. You can make changes and change things. You have that power.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bingo. So I guess I introduced, so I guess I'll close it up. So there you
Yeah.
have it. Why you should grind. No days
And
off.
not.
Yeah, or not. But yeah, I think if you do that, you'll probably enjoy your life a little bit more. And isn't that the key? Because we're all going to die anyways. So
Damn
that
right.
yeah, so that's all for today's episode, the Existential Stoic podcast. Make sure to check us out on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for joining us this week. Like, share, subscribe. I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Randy.